fair to say that I'm compensated for my time, just as you are.
How much do you think I make $700 an hour?
Okay, some fiery testimony out of the missing mom murder trial. Dr. Elizabeth Loftus, you just saw her there. She said she makes $600 an hour to testify and work on the Michelle Troconis case. Troconis is on trial for the murder of Connecticut mother of 5 Jennifer Doulos, who disappeared in May 2019. Doulos was the ex-wife of Troconis' then lover Fotis Doulos. Now, back to Dr. Loftus. She is a memory expert. Her testimony on the stand yesterday was explosive, so we're going to walk you through the 6 moments that left jurors, lawyers, and maybe even the judge in awe. Here's the first one.
In your experience, does memory fade over a period of time?
Yes.
Is there any minimum amount of time that takes place before some memory fades?
Well, the fading process will start and continue as more and more time passes.
Well, it'll start. How soon will it start?
Well, it depends on what it is that people are trying to remember. If you've ever been told somebody's name at a party and 2 minutes later you have no idea what their name is, that you know that it can fade pretty fast.
Could it start as quickly as what was the previous question that had been asked?
Yes, while objections are being discussed.
Okay.
Here, the doctor implies, when Troconis gave her timeline of events to the police, that she most likely didn't lie about it. She just forgot. But then Dr. Loftus does some forgetting of her own. Listen.
I want to just ask you about a book that you wrote in 1991, if I could. Would you just tell the jury what the title of the book was?
Well, I published 20 books. Do you want to hand me the CV? And
Well, did you publish more than one book in 1991?
I think only one book in 1991.
So that's
yes.
the one I'm talking about.
Okay.
Would you mind just telling the jury what the title of the book was?
The title of that was Witness for the Defense.
That wasn't the complete title, was it, Doctor?
Well, that was the main part of the title.
So I'll just ask again, that was not the complete title, was it?
Well, there may have been a subtitle, but I don't remember the details. You apparently have it, so you can read it to me and ask me, is that it?
When you say you don't remember the details, I just want to be clear. You're saying you don't remember the details about the title of a book you wrote?
I don't remember exactly the subtitle.
Okay.
And once Dr. Loftus remembered the book in question, the prosecution had a couple of follow-up questions.
I want to just direct your attention to the top of that page. That's from that same book in 1991, correct?
Yes.
And did you write in that book that you'd never met a prosecutor who was happy to see you in the courtroom?
What paragraph is that?
So if you would just direct your attention near the top, I think it's the first full paragraph.
I'd never met a prosecutor who was happy to see me in a courtroom. Actually, it happened today, though. We dedicate this book to the women and men who've been wrongfully accused, convicted, imprisoned, or have otherwise suffered because of faulty eyewitness testimony.
There's nothing in that acknowledgement about victims in your dedication, is there?
Objection, argumentative.
Overruled.
No.
And would you also agree that a hard copy of your book has a number of photos in it?
Yes.
And you would agree that the photos include Ted Bundy?
There is a photo of Ted Bundy, I believe, yes.
And this witness has seen it all. In addition to the trial of serial killer Ted Bundy, Dr. Loftus has either been a consultant or a defense witness for O.J. Simpson, the Menendez brothers, and Michael Jackson. The prosecutor touches on all these cases, but then the judge steps in and scolds him for misconduct.
You also worked on Jerry Sandusky's case, correct?
Primarily, I was working on behalf of the administrators at Penn State who were accused of maybe not doing more, you could say. But that was my primary work in the Penn State case. Then after their situation resolved and I was not in any kind of conflict, I did talk with Mr. Sandusky's defense attorneys, yes.
So that was a very long answer to a simple question.
Well, that's not a question. What the court is going to do is this. The court understands zeal. The court understands the cut and thrust of cross. But what the court is not going to countenance is a lack of respect.
Doctor, the short answer to my question was that you worked on Jerry Sandusky's case, correct?
Yes,
And Jerry Sandusky was accused of molesting children, is that right?
yes.
And the prosecutor didn't just grill Dr. Loftus about her experience. He actually addressed Troconis' interrogation, referencing the defense that Troconis was manipulated and giving false information.
I wanted to ask you, you would agree that there is another possible explanation other than memory contamination for inconsistencies in the defendant's statements, correct?
Correct.
One possible explanation could be that the defendant was simply lying to the police, correct?
That's possible.
You would agree that sometimes people who are accused of crimes lie to the police.
Yes,
And sometimes people who are accused of crimes change their stories in an effort to explain their conduct. Is that correct?
well, certainly people who do commit crimes or deny that they do.
I'm sorry, Mr. Ansher.
They deny that they do.
Right, but sometimes they also learn what the police information is and then try to change their story. Is that correct? To try to tailor their...
That can happen.
So, to a point we made earlier, Dr. Loftus has testified and worked on many high-profile cases. You might remember her from the trial of real estate heir Robert Durst. He killed his wife back in 1982, but wasn't convicted until 2021. Now, here's Dr. Loftus in that trial.
Tell me, why is it that as an unbiased witness, you weren't willing to sit down with the prosecution in this case, with myself, with the defense attorney present, recorded, et cetera, and explain in advance what you were going to be doing in this case? Why?
Do you really want me to? Because you're a bully, and I didn't want to subject myself to that unpleasant experience.
Okay, so, by the way, if I was a bully, wouldn't it be recorded and you'd be able to come into court and then you could testify how mean and cruel I was to you and how I misrepresented, et cetera? Wouldn't you have been able to do that?
Oh, that's kind of a thought. I hadn't thought about that.
Okay.
But
So it had nothing to do with your bias then?
it had to do with what I've already testified about.
Dr. Loftus has been called to the witness stand more than 300 times since 1975, discussing the concept of false memory in the face of traumatic events. Now, in the Troconis trial, her defense team hired her to specifically look at the interrogations and Troconis' statements surrounding Jennifer Dulos' disappearance and her death. The Troconis case is wrapped up now. Both sides have rested. They'll have closings next week. We will continue to bring you updates as this saga in Connecticut unfolds. I'm Michel Bryant, and you're watching Law and Crime.